Hello everybody, welcome back to another Comedian MTG gameplay video. So for this week and the next couple coming up, I'm going to be featuring gameplay from the cEDH Nexus Patron 2-Color League. To clarify, that means that each commander can only have a color identity that is 2 colors. It's created a really unique and interesting play space, and it has its own unique meta. Now, the league works by having players divide into teams of 3, and games will be formed in the pods of 1 person from each team. My team includes myself, Alton7, and Crossfire Cat. We are Los Tres Estupidos. Now, these games are streamed on the cEDH Nexus and they're put up on their YouTube channel. If you want to keep seeing unique content like this, feel free to hit like and subscribe on our channel, and if you want to go that extra mile, check us out on patreon.com/comedianmtg. Without any further ado, let's get into the game. Today I'm piloting my Winota deck with a few edits made to accommodate for the fact that it's a 2-color league and to expect certain things in the meta. Apart from that, the only other change is that I'm playing the Aura Touched Mage Breath of Fury combo, which I was encouraged to test out by people in the Winota Discord, so I figured this would be a great place to give it a shot. Let's check out our players in today's game. First up is Dextro. He's playing Varolz Hulk. Second is Barbecue Floss, and he's playing Edric Turns. Third is me, I'm playing Winota. And finally, fourth is Kolkio, and he's also playing Varolz Hulk. My opening hand consists of a Gemstone Caverns, a Plains, a Glow Rider, a Rule of Law, a City of Traders, and an Abrade. So I decided to put Athalia to the bottom of my library because I am down to 6 cards. And on top of that, I have to exile a card to my Gemstone Caverns. Because I have the City of Traders and Caverns in hand, I feel like I don't need my third land, so I end up exiling the Plains. Now, the decision point of this hand is whether I play the Glow Rider or whether I play the Rule of Law. I decide to play the Glow Rider because I feel like it's more disruptive to the plans of all 3 decks at the table, whereas I feel like the Rule of Law effect would mostly just affect the Edric deck. Now, this decision ends up actually coming back to hurt me pretty badly because I draw 2 Signets in a row, first Arcane Signet and then Boros Signet, and on top of that, I also do have my Glow Rider make my Rule of Law cost more, so I end up really getting punished for this decision, even though I was right in my analysis that the Glow Rider really does affect the table a great deal. Now, as I mentioned, I start the game with the Gemstone Caverns. Dextro just plays a land and pass, which I'm feeling pretty confident about. Floss just plays a land into a Remora, but luckily I don't need to cast any non-creatures, so I drop my City of Traders and play my Glow Rider. As I mentioned, I drew that Signet, which does hurt, but I still think Glow Rider is the best play at the moment, especially seeing as I had to put the Thalia to the bottom, so I actually don't have a 2-drop. Now, Dextro here just playing a Golgari Thug, which is not a card that I am very scared of, so my opponents having these slow starts makes me feel pretty confident in the fact that I played that early Glow Rider. Floss obviously having a bit of a better start than my other opponents, but still nothing that I'm worried about. Now, I do end up playing a 3-mana Signet here, which I'm not ecstatic about, and as I said, my draws were pretty bad, but I just go to Beat Street with my Glow Rider and hope that things work out better on my next draw step. And despite my clunky draws, luckily the 2 Varolz decks at the table are also having pretty abysmal draws, so I'm feeling a lot better about that. Floss just kind of lets the Remora die here and then just dumps creatures out of his hand. He really is the threat right now at the table, and everyone's pretty aware of that. Now, I am unfortunately pressed into playing a Recruiter of the Guard to go grab a Hope of Gearper, just so I'll have a creature to trigger Winota on my next turn. Kolkio just passing the turn, not for the reasons you might think. However, Dextro here plays Varolz and Lesser Masticore, which is one of the Hulk pieces. However, Kolkio acts on end step and actually ends up miscounting his mana pretty badly. You see, he didn't add correctly all of the taxes from Glow Rider. Right here, he basically reveals the fact that he has a Necromancy in his hand because of the fact that he's just doing all of these things, including a Culling the Weak on end step without any end result, meaning he wanted to go for Necromancy but did not realize that he was going to be 1 mana short no matter what he did. Now, the events that have just transpired set the stage for the rest of the game. Because Kolkio tried to go off and was actually short, we all know that he has a win in hand. So Floss, being the only blue deck at the table, is now put in the position where he has to keep up interaction, or else we just lose to Kolkio. And because Necromancy is at instant speed, he can go for that win at any time. Protean Hulk is in the graveyard and Phyrexian Tower is on the battlefield, so the Hulk pile is basically guaranteed. This puts a ton of pressure on Floss to basically just make small plays and pass with interaction. With all that being said, that gives me free reign to just do my thing on my turn and jam Winota. Unfortunately, this does not work out for me because my one Winota trigger that I finally get this game I end up missing on, which is really unfortunate. And now the stalemate officially begins. Kolkio just passes with all of his mana up, basically ready to win if anyone slips up whatsoever. Now, while Floss is not officially going for it, he is able to gain incremental advantage every turn just attacking and drawing with Grob. Now it's back to my turn and I swing and get a Thalia Garden of Thraben, so now non-creatures cost 2 more. Now in my second main phase here, I make a really untraditional play in which I have my Goblin Recruiter, which normally sets up my Snoop combo, and instead I actually decide to just get a fair card in Goblin Rabblemaster, because Rabblemaster snowballs a ton of advantage with Winota. But why am I not going for the win? Why am I not going for the combo here? The simple answer is Kolkio is ready to win at instant speed at any time. So for me, trying to win with a sorcery speed combo is just asking to either A, get shut down with the removal ready for Kolkio, or B, even worse, throw the game to Kolkio because Floss has to use his only interaction on me. So that's not a scenario I want to be in. So I want to play a card that's not threatening enough to draw the interaction, but a card still good enough that it's gaining the advantage by tutoring for it. And you'll also notice that I actually don't have enough red mana to go for the combo all in one turn, which is just another reason I don't go for it. So Dextro Demonic Tutors here, which, if you're paying attention, he has a sack outlet on board, so he's definitely also someone who is concerning at the current point. Now because Floss has a Cradle on the board, he has an abundance of mana, meaning he can pay for my tax effects and hold up interaction, and still be able to play Edric as you see he does here. Now he swings in and draws a boatload of cards, taking a chunk out of Kolkio's life, and after that he follows up by playing more creatures that can attack next turn and draw him a ton of value. I get to untap here and finally have an opportunity to swing in with a lot of Winota damage, and I get several triggers off of this board, which is really awesome because I really want to get some sort of advantage here. So I swing out with every creature that can attack except Glow Rider because it's too soft at this point. My first creature to hit the battlefield is a Grand Abolisher, which is awesome because it literally prevents my opponents from interacting on my turn whatsoever, and because it came in during my turn, they have no chance of interacting with me or my board state. My second flip is a Drannith Magistrate, which isn't doing much on this board state. However, it turns out in discussion with one of the other teams after the game, it actually could have saved us had we all talked a little more about what we could have done. My final flip is a Thalia's Lancers, which is almost always just a tutor for Kiki Jiki in the deck. Unfortunately, I have to get Kiki here, but you'll notice that my mana base is not likely to cast Kiki anytime soon, and Dockside doesn't get me any treasures, so that doesn't even fix my mana problems. Luckily, I do draw a ton of cards because Edric is on the board, and I attacked other players apart from Floss. So here's where I kind of mess things up. I end up playing Samurai of the Pale Curtain, which is an awesome stacks piece on this board and definitely makes sure that Dextro and Kolkio cannot go off right now. However, what this does is relieve the pressure off Floss to hold up mana to stop Kolkio winning, meaning that Floss has just drawn a ton of cards with Edric on his turn and now has no obligation to hold up mana. I'm tapped out and the other players can't really interact with him, so he's basically free to just do whatever he wants on his turn, and later after the game I do realize that this was pretty much a giant punt on my part. So for those of you that know anything about Edric, you know exactly what comes next, and the answer to that question is turn spells. So Floss draws a ton of cards and then plays probably the best card in his entire deck, Notorious Throng. This makes a ton of fairy creatures and gives him an extra turn. Not only that, but he's able to rebuy it with a Noxious Revival, so he's able to do the exact same thing again next turn. And at this point, we basically know we're done. I was hoping to maybe be able to draw it out, but the second Throng, combined with the fact that after that he is able to cast a Time Stretch, we know there's no way of clawing back, and we scoop it up. So a little bit of post-game analysis here. On that last turn cycle, Dextro's team actually had an Abrupt Decay in hand. And if you remember me earlier mentioning that Drannith Magistrate was relevant without me knowing it, without it looking good on this board state, it's because of the Abrupt Decay. Now, Edric had drawn a ton of cards and clearly was about to go off, and I had mentioned that during some table talk, but the Drannith Magistrate was missed by Dextro and his team, and they didn't realize that Edric could be locked out of the game. Not only that, but he had a tough choice because, one, Abrupt Decay would cost him his whole turn because there were 2 tax effects on the table, and 2, even if he did stop Edric there was a significant chance that I was able to either A, lock out the game, or just win on my turn. My board state was ridiculous and it was clearly snowballing out of control, so it's tough to know if answering Edric would have done anything to stop it. It's obvious to say that now that the game is over and we lost to Edric on the next turn, but it was a tough decision, and unfortunately, sometimes that's just how it goes. Thank you for joining me for another gameplay episode here on Comedian MTG. If you're enjoying more 2-Color League content, don't worry, more will be coming down the line, as I'm going to be trying to put out one of those videos every week. Now, the second week I actually was in a pod where one of the players didn't show up, so week 2 is going to be skipped, but I have week 3 gameplay and that should be coming out next week. So if you enjoyed this, tune back in next week for more gameplay. And if you want to be a part of making more content like this happen, hop over to patreon.com/comedianmtg. All the support helps a ton, and you can be in the credits like these amazing people right here.